I think listening to coaches at Wigan, at Leeds, I think Michael Carter's the latest one coming out saying, we are virtually on a precipice that we probably are one more postponed game away from it having serious implications as to whether the season can be finished in a manner in which clearly we would like it to be. I think the one thing that does surprise me is that a lot of fans on social media want to know if there's a contingency plan if things go awry further than where they are at the moment. I mean, I would say there are a lot of those who criticise governing bodies, but there absolutely will be a contingency plan. It's just that we don't know at the moment what it is. And if we think that, people like Rob Elston are sat there drinking coffee all day and not thinking about the potential options for more games being called off, then we're not giving them the credit that they deserve. There will be a number of scenarios that everybody will be aware of. And it's just you don't put it in the public domain until you need to. But the interesting question is, what would you do at the moment to give some kind of integrity to the competition, bearing in mind that there probably isn't enough time, and because it involves Catalan in 3 of the games, there probably isn't the space in the fixture list, even where we are now, for everybody to play 22 rounds. So what would you do? Here's my suggestion that you didn't even ask for, that as of tomorrow, every game that hasn't been played should be deemed 0-0. It's nobody's fault. We've still got enough of the season. We're not at the hoped for halfway point yet to say that whatever those matches are, it'd be very, very difficult for the teams involved not to say that isn't a fair and equitable outcome, in terms that there isn't really a form line at the moment. That, if you are a team like Huddersfield that 1 week only have 16 fit players available, or if you are a team like Wigan who have one of those weeks where you're absolutely flat, admittedly against a supercharged Hull KR side, then to give both teams a 0-0 scoreline and a point, it's not going to radically alter the table at this stage. It's not going to rule a team out of making the top 4. But if we could start from this weekend's games with everybody equal, I reckon that's the best way ahead. And you can now disagree.
I said last week on Twitter when someone brought it up, it was another journalist mentioned, how are we ever going to get this season fitted in before it has to finish at some? Are we going to have to extend the season and all this and the other? I'm thinking, we just play as many games as we can. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter, because all that matters is getting enough games in for Sky. We can work out and stick asterisks next to whoever wins the grand final. It doesn't matter.
I'll come back to you on the Sky bit in a minute, but what would you two do? Would you play percentages then? Just play as many games as you can, points per game, or percentages wins, or is there any merit in 0-0 draws?
I'd do something, but I just don't know what.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, you kind of wonder why they didn't sort of follow the Warriors model and bring Catlans into the country and, try and... I mean, obviously it's going to be a very expensive undertaking, but obviously there is a loan of £16 million that could be accessed. And whether you create a bit of a stronger bubble in terms of set hotels, the teams could be in and out either on match days or either. But I think as Bill said, like shortening the season would make sense, because that seems like a lot of games to be played. And if the end result is literally we're having 3 or 4 serious injuries from each team in every game, and then they're playing 3 or 4 days later, then players are just going to get churned up and spat out. It's not fair. The standard isn't going to be great if that happens. And you look at the Huddersfield St Helens game, I mean, it was like St Helens were playing an under-18s team. It was one-way traffic. So, yeah, I think cutting back the amount of fixtures and maybe, declaring them null and void is a decent idea.
On the television question, where you said as long as we play enough games for Sky, I was speaking to someone from Sky on Friday, and they were saying, actually, we're not making any extra demands of the sport. We are only contracted to play, to show 2 games a week. And at the moment, we're showing 4 or 5. normally we would have to set up at various different grounds. We're doing it at one venue, so there's actually a cost saving at the moment for Sky. We are oversupplying them with matches, and when the football starts this weekend, our slots will not suddenly expand to take loads of games. We'll get what we're given, and I think we have fulfilled virtually everything they've asked of us in August, to the point where they had the 8 NRL games when they were only going to take 3 originally. They then dropped the NRL games, bought in Super League games. We've rearranged fixtures to give them more than what they'd anticipated on their original schedules. So I'm not sure it being driven by Sky is necessarily, we haven't already fulfilled to the best of our ability the obligation that we've had between when we resumed and where we are now. So I'm not sure that is as much of an issue as some people think it is.
I know nothing, you say. I just tend to pontificate about these things on social media and sometimes get it right and mostly get these things wrong. So if that's the case, then that's a good thing. I mean, the advantage we've had with these double headers, and I know we haven't got crowds in, and I know they've had limited crowds at the Union. I know Harlequins had some people in to watch whatever they were doing at the weekend. At least with these no crowd scenarios, we are saving Sky the hassle of going around grounds and setting up and de-rigging when they can do 4 games in 2 days. So we are doing something quite good at the minute.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they're appreciative of the fact that Rugby League has been flexible in its approach, not only in terms of single venues, but actually moving fixture times and trying to find alternative opponents at very short notice. You can't imagine that would have happened in too many other sports. You can imagine going to Premiership football and going, right, Manchester United, instead of playing at Arsenal today, you're playing at Manchester City. You know what short shrift that would have got. So yeah, I think Sky won't make a huge deal about wanting vast amounts of money back if every game that was scheduled isn't played at some stage. And at this stage, we weren't going to get any games from France, but all being well, Wigan will be going there at the weekend, and let's hope that everybody who's tested positive at the Dragons, who have now had a round of negative tests and are back training again, don't start showing any symptoms. Let's hope nobody from Wigan, other than the one person who clearly has been isolated today, is testing positive. So let's assume Wigan go. There's going to be 5,000 people in the stadium for our first game with crowds, but it's going to be shown on Sky. Now, that game wasn't originally earmarked to be shown on Sky, so again, I don't know who's doing the production of it. I would be very surprised if Sky are flying a crew out there. So that means that, again, we're further along with the broadcast of games in Perpignan than we were at the start of the season, and Sky have got another slot filled with that match. So yeah, maybe it isn't all as doom and gloom on the broadcasting front. Now would be a great time to be negotiating a new deal, I think.